I'm Jesse White, Illinois Secretary of State, and you're watching Rabbi Doug.
We're gonna see Rabbi Doug. We're gonna see Rabbi Doug. We're gonna see Rabbi Doug on your TV tonight.
But Daddy, I want to watch Monday Night Football.
Forget about Monday Night Football. There's no other that we're going to watch on Monday but Rabbi Doug.
Yeah, Rabbi Doug on TV tonight. We're gonna see Rabbi Doug. Oh, everybody talk about Doug.
Shalom, welcome to Taped with Rabbi Doug. It is my great pleasure to have the Alderman of the 17th Ward of Chicago as my guest today, David Moore. Welcome to the show, David.
Thank you so much.
I'm so glad to have you with me, Alderman, because you are one of those movers and shakers for the city of Chicago. We've had certainly many aldermen from the city of Chicago on our show over the years, and I especially wanted to have you on because you are running for Secretary of State to replace the retiring Jesse White,
yes,
who's been on our show a number of times and I'm very good friends with over the years. You are an Inglewood resident, and you've been an alderman for the city of Chicago since 2015,
yes,
on the city council, and you're on the committees for contract oversight and equity as vice chairman, budget and government operations, committees and rules, housing and real estate, finance, license and consumer protection, pedestrian and traffic safety, transportation and public way and zoning, landmarks and building standards. That's a lot of committees to work on, besides taking care of your own community. You're a native Chicagoan, and you grew up in the Robert Taylor homes before moving to Inglewood,
yes,
and Auburn Gresham communities. You graduated from Simeon for high school and went to Western Illinois University, dual major in accounting and operations management, and you got your master's degree and an emphasis in government studies from Loyola University in Chicago. And here you are now with us on Taped with Rabbi Doug, and I'm so excited to have you on because the Secretary of State office is something that is not only dear to me, as I've become very close with Jesse White over the years, but it's such an important position. It covers so many things. Of course, the major thing that everyone knows is motor vehicles,
right,
and licensing. And Jesse is a landmark in the state of Illinois. People know him all over the country, not just in Illinois. And his retiring is sad, but he deserves it. He's worked, for so long at this. What made you, first of all, interested in politics? How did you get involved to say, I'm going to run to be the alderman of the 17th Ward of Chicago? It's a lot of responsibility and a lot of people watching you from all ends.
Absolutely.
And you have to. It's different from being even on television. You're in the public eye because everybody is looking at you with scrutiny, and is he doing this right? Is he doing that right? What made you want to do it, and how did you get started?
Absolutely, good question. First of all, I got started when I was 11 years old. My uncle was an assistant precinct captain. After they moved us out of the Robert Taylor homes into Inglewood, to give us a better chance at life, he would pay me $5 from up and down the street and put literature in people's mailboxes. But I have to say, and to be honest, I didn't care about any politics. I just wanted that $5 to get some Chico sticks and Boston baked beans. But it was when I turned 13, that same uncle took me to the Roberts Motel, which was on 630 King Drive. They had a ballroom, and there I met a state senator by the name of Harold Washington, who was running for Congress at the time. And he looked me in my eye because I had to be the youngest one in there. And he talked about the importance of young people being involved in their community. And if you ever heard Harold Washington speak, and I know you have heard him, the way he speaks and the way he articulates, it just moved me. And at that point, that $5 no longer became important to me, but just serving in my community became important to me. So there's the service side, just serving in my community that I've been doing for years. But then it's that political side. As you're serving, what you do is you help other people. You're not even thinking about running for office. And I tell people there are two people who I keep my eyes on. Anybody saying they want to be a preacher, rabbi, minister, or anything, and anybody who say they want to be an elected official. Because it's not something you run to, it's something you run from. When you talk about it's heavy, it's a calling. And I think sometimes God just want to find people who's going to do his will and help the least of those. And when that calling came on my life, I didn't accept it right away. I ran from it. Don't want that number one spot, but it keeps pulling you. And that's what made me run for alderman, and that's how I ended up running.
So tell me, as alderman, compared to your predecessors,
Yes.
Since you came into office, what do you feel were your biggest accomplishments? What have you done to make your community a better place to live that people would say, well, he's a really good politician on the up and up?
Absolutely. So when you talk about my predecessor, first of all, the problem was they didn't have access to their alderman. It wasn't getting information and the right communication. Me, I came in because my pastor taught me, if you're going to be a shepherd, your sheep should be able to touch you. And so one of the things I did was gave all my residents my personal cell phone number. They either have it or have access to it. And you teach them to use it, not abuse it. They go through the office, but if they have to get to me, they can. And that way, because my ward, I tell people, is bigger than Calumet City. And Calumet City has a mayor, 7 aldermen, and a whole, supporting staff. Me is just the alderman and three staff members, and you hire a part-time person. Something is going to fall through the cracks. But by them having my cell phone number, when those things do fall through the cracks, they call me and we get them done. So we've been getting and keeping our community clean. We've been responding to city services quicker than they've had before in the past, and bringing economic development to the 17th Ward community. And so that's what I've been able to do that my predecessors didn't do.
Wonderful. Obviously, we see a lot of gun violence on the south side, and the Inglewood community is often in the news.
Absolutely.
How do you feel you've addressed these issues, and how are they getting better? And is the police department and the superintendent of the police department, are they really helping improve that situation, make things safer and better for the residents?
Well, one of the things I did, because although I have been a supporter of the mayor, I'm still also a challenger. I'm an independent voice. And so my thing is, one of the things that I had an issue with, that I knew that the mayor was too much controlling the police department. And I even told her personally, but I've also said it publicly on the city council floor, asking the superintendent, is she running the police department or are you? And I asked him that question specifically. He gave me the answer that he's running it, so I said, then I'm holding you responsible. Because my thing is, I don't want you to be handcuffed so you can't do what you need to do. And so I think Superintendent Brown, he had a learning curve, and that's part of the problem. Let's be honest about it. We lost a lot of institutional knowledge within the police department. I don't want to sugarcoat anything for anybody. And when you lose that institutional knowledge, you have to rebuild. And that's a problem. So not only were you in a rebuilding stage and learning curve and all of that, then you began to lose police officers due to some of the things that was going on with policy changes and policies and everything. So when you're short police and you're going through a learning curve, what's going to happen? You're going to have some of these issues that arise. And one of the things that I've did in my community to combat those is make sure I stay engaged with my residents. As a matter of fact, before COVID, and I got my numbers from CPD, while the numbers in the city were going up, our numbers in the 17th Ward was going down. And that's because I stay out there and I create block clubs. I have my blood club presidents engaged. I go out there at night. And also I engage those young men and women that are out there trying to make sure that they have a pathway to either education or some type of work. And we've been able to be successful in that in the 17th Ward community.
What is your relationship with Mayor Lori Lightfoot, and do you feel that your working relationship is a positive one or a combative one?
It takes its twists and turns, I would say I'm a supporter of the mayor, but that can change at any moment, and I tell people that based on how you're helping the least of those. And I always tell the mayor, build bridges and not walls. And so we've had it's been more good than it has been negative. I consider her a friend, and I'm going to continue to support her. The reason why is because she's the only mayor since I've been around, other than Harold Washington, and he didn't have the time to do it, was that do what I call a Marshall Plan, because that was one of the things I talked about when she ran. I said, we need a Marshall Plan for the city of Chicago. Well, she called hers Invest Southwest. I don't care what you call it, but as long as you're focusing on redeveloping the south and the west sides of Chicago, these communities that have not had any investment in it for years, which is causing all of this crime. People don't realize that. Years of disinvestment, years of ignoring these communities is a result, the crime is a result of all that. And the mayor has committed to doing it, and she's been putting money into rebuilding and reinvesting in the south and west sides of Chicago.
All right, very good. So I have a big question for you. Before we talk about the Secretary of State office, if you leave your office in the 17th Ward and became Secretary of State, how would you make sure that your ward continued the progress that you've made? Because that's always an issue when people run for another office. They say, look, our alderman has done so much for us, how are we ever going to replace him? Or who's going to come in and continue the progress that he's made? How do you plan on making sure that's done?
And this is, I'm going to talk about this even when I talk about the Secretary of State. I always have taken pride in elevating and keeping young people around me and giving them the knowledge and teaching them how to serve and everything. And as a matter of fact, one of my colleagues told me, you keep doing this to these young people, bringing them into city council, I bring them in meetings with me, let them ask questions and things like that. They said, they're going to run against you one day. I said, I want them to. I want them to. And that's the reason. We're in Inglewood and in the Auburn Gresham area, we have several young men and women that have been serving just to serve that we can choose from. And I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to live there. I'm going to be a part of that because I was doing it before I was elected. That's what I do. Is serve it. It's who I am. It's not my official work title. That's who I am as a person. I won't be alderman one day. I won't be Secretary of State one day, but I'm always going to be a servant. And that's what I do. And so we have a plethora of, not a plethora, but we have quite a few young people who've been serving and doing good work that is not interested in the seat, but that calling is going to pull them to the seat. And that's what I like. I don't like anybody that's looking to be there, because you're looking for it. You don't know what you're getting into because you run from it. You don't run to it.
Very good, very good. So my next question is very simply, there are many aldermen over the years who have run for state office, for example, to be a state senator or on the state legislation, and moving beyond that to being a state official, such as Secretary of State, is a big move. What makes you feel that you are qualified to be the Secretary of State for the state of Illinois, and why this position and why the move now?
Absolutely. So again, spiritually, first and foremost, again, just a calling and a pull. I'm happy being alderman. Didn't want to leave there, but sometimes God will show you a different direction. And although you don't want to sometimes even go, you'll go for the benefit of whatever His purpose for you is for you in your life at that time. And so that's the spiritual side. The secular side of it is that this seat is just like the aldermanic seat. It's a servant seat. You're serving constituents. It's nonpartisan, and that's what attracts me to it. Unlike other people in this race, I'm not using it as a stepping stone. That's why people appreciate it about Secretary White. He came there not looking to be governor, not looking to be U.S. senator, but to go there and serve. And I'm the only one in this race that said, I am not going and not only looking, I will not run for governor. I will not run for U.S. senator. I am just going there to serve, and that's why that seat attracts me. What makes me qualified, I have a dual degree in accounting and operations management, and I spent 10 years in corporate America working for 4,500 companies like Ralston Purina, the Clorox company, and Avery Dennison Corporation. One thing I couldn't do in corporate America, we couldn't keep raising prices. We had to always find opportunity cost savings, and I was the best at it, and you stay competitive that way. There's waste in government. There is waste in government. But people have to have the political will and the acumen to go there, find that waste, and weed that waste out, so we can make sure we not keep raising fees on licenses and license plates, but also being able to make sure you run an effective and efficient operation so that you provide great quality customer service.
So you have an accounting degree, so finance is something you know, and do you feel that the state financial situation under Jesse's control has been kept under control, or that it's doing well, or do you think there's a lot of room for change?
From the standpoint in the Secretary of State's office, and again, the legislatures decide to vote on the fees, and that's why you hear me talk about the service of the Secretary of State, the business of the Secretary of State, and the responsibility of the Secretary of State. The responsibility of the Secretary of State, part of that is making sure when you're running effective and efficient operations, showing the legislator, no, we don't need to raise fees because you want to say raise fees. And I think under Secretary White, he's done pretty well, but I think going up to $151, the legislature, that's a bit much, even in my opinion. I think that's a higher cost, but part of that was because we hadn't had a capital bill for many years. Then you needed money so you can apply, because a lot of that money from Secretary of State's office go towards the roads. So we've gotten a lot of money. We've got not only now casinos, you got marijuana, you got all of this money and new money that's coming in. We should not be raising fees, but yet we should be going there and making sure that we're fiscally sound from an operational standpoint.
I like those words. Tell me about the Secretary of State's office. You know, everybody knows about the driving and the licenses and stuff. What are the other duties of the Secretary of State?
Absolutely. There's 20 different departments within the Secretary of State's office. You're right. And even me, I knew about a couple of them, but I'm not going to be honest with you. And everybody in this race, if they're going to be honest, they didn't know about all of them.
And everybody in the city of Chicago is watching us, and not only that, but also in all the suburbs.
Right.
And so you're not just hitting the city people or your ward. You're hitting the whole Chicago area and the entire state, and outside of the state as well. For people who are interested, tell us, what is the Secretary of State's office besides cars?
Absolutely, it's business services. So when you're opening up business, you got to come through the Secretary of State's office for your business licenses. It's the Secretary of State, people don't know, is the state librarian. And so a lot of grant money the Secretary of State has to find and make sure he's leveraging to not only build new libraries, but make sure there's new resources in libraries. The Secretary of State, when we talk about the insurrection that happened at the Capitol, that's when people started paying attention to the Capitol building in Washington. Well, something similar can happen at the state of Illinois, at our Capitol buildings and the buildings that we have there. Well, the Secretary of State is responsible for not only maintaining those Capitol buildings, but also securing those Capitol buildings. And so he not only has the Secretary of State police, but he's also in charge of the Capitol police. And a very critical one is registering lobbyists. When we're dealing in this time of corruption and everything, and you see it.
I was going to bring it up, so I'm glad you did.
When you're seeing all this corruption going on and everything, me and making sure that lobbyists are registered properly, that they're doing the proper things, and if they're not, removing those registrations so that we don't have corruption in government. That's critical. It's critical.
And Jesse's in charge of all those things.
Absolutely. And another critical one people don't know about is victim assistance programs. When you're a victim, you go through the Attorney General's office to apply for victim assistance, but the Secretary of State's office controls the hearing officers that decides how much money you get, in terms of for being a victim and everything. And a lot of people don't know that.
Wow. Amazing. We're here with Alderman David Moore of the 17th Ward. He is running for Illinois Secretary of State to replace the retiring Jesse White, Secretary of State. And we're here on Taped with Rabbi Doug. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
COVID-19 vaccines are safe and effective. Millions of doses have already been given in the United States, and these vaccines have the most intensive safety monitoring in U.S. history. If you have questions, get answers from a reliable source. CDC.gov.
I am an American.
I am an American.
I'm an American.
I am an American.
I'm an American.
I am an American.
I am an American. I am an American.
I am an American.
I am an American.
I am an American.
I am an American.
I am an American.
I'm an American.
I am an American.
I am an American.
I am American.
I am America.
I'm an American.
I'm an American.
I'm an American.
I am an American.
I am an American.
I'm an American.
I am an American.
I am an American.
Hi everyone, this is Senator Tammy Duckworth and you're watching Taped with Rabbi Doug.
Welcome back. We're here on Taped with Rabbi Doug, and I'm here with David Moore. He is the alderman of the 17th Ward of the city of Chicago, and he is running for Secretary of State of the state of Illinois. And Jesse White, who's been the Secretary of State for so many years, is retiring. And David, tell me, as alderman, did you face challengers when you ran for alderman, or were you unopposed when you ran for alderman?
When I first ran in 2011, and I fell short by 321 votes in the runoff election, there was 8 people in that race. When I ran again in 2015, it was 3 people, and I won clearly right out. When I ran the second time, I had a challenger, but it wasn't a serious challenger. It was someone who actually lived in the suburbs, and she used to live in the city of Chicago, and because I wouldn't let her have a block club party on a block that she grew up on, because the residents didn't want it, she did some finagling, tried to say she lived on the block and ran against me and lost. But did I have a serious challenger? No, because we've been doing some good work in involving the people and the residents of the community.
I don't even want to know the names of the people running against you, mind you, but I want to know, have any of these people held political office before?
Yes, and that's the great thing about it. It's easy to say what you're going to do when you get in office. You can look at people's track record and see what they have done. And I hold my record as an alderman up against any of the other 2, and the other person that just threw in. I hold my record up against any of theirs. And I'll say this, as we talk about this, and I want people to look closely, not only at our records, which you can go look at, but look at individuals. I tell people, there's nothing wrong with being a millionaire. A lot of people want to be a millionaire. But guess what? Most Illinoisans are not. I am you. So I can't buy my way into anything like you cannot buy your way into anything, or things that were not given to you, if you say. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. You just got to begin to say, who do I relate to more? Who will understand me and my struggles and the things that I have to go through more? Other thing is, unlike my opponent, one of my opponents, me, I had to be an RA to earn, money to pay to college. I had to work jobs to pay my way through college. I had to get a student loan to earn my way to college, which that's most of Illinois. There's nothing wrong with getting scholarships, but a lot of us didn't know about what we call legislative scholarships when they had them. That means any state rep or state senate, if you knew them or if you had the clout, they can give you a scholarship. You don't have about no resume, not about grades. They can just choose to give it to whoever they give it to for 4 years. Again, there's nothing wrong with that, although they cut it out because more people start finding out about it, and then they finally cut it out. And so my thing is, that didn't happen to me. When I graduated from college, I had to interview for jobs. Some I got rejected. Finally, I got 2 job offers before I graduated, from Ralston Purina and one from State Farm. My opponent was pulled right in because they had political connections. Then, me, I had to run for alderman. I didn't just get appointed. Again, I'm saying God can choose to have favor on anybody He want to have favor on, but that's not going to happen to most Illinoisans, And so I am them, and because I am them, and because I'm not looking to be the next senator or the next governor, but there to serve, it makes me different from my opponents.
Oh, great. So now comes the big question. If you become Secretary of State of the state of Illinois, what will you do to make things better? Jesse's been good.
Yes.
People love Jesse. What can you do to make things even better as Secretary of State?
Absolutely. And I tell people say, man, Secretary White's shoes are going to be hard shoes to fill. And I told them, I'm not trying to fill his shoes. I'm standing on his shoulders. So standing on his shoulders, I can see higher and I can see further. And so I will do better because he wants me to do better. Always we can enhance customer service. There's always room. One thing I learned in corporate America, we were taught, and it stuck with me, and I've used it even throughout as being an alderman. If it ain't broke, break it. Find out why it's not breaking and improve upon it. And so customer service, number one, can be enhanced. When we talk about it, some people still complain about long lines. I was the first one in this race to talk about, because the Secretary of State is the state librarian, we can use our library as satellite offices just to do small things like, just simple renewing of your driver's license or getting your sticker. You know, that way you have it closer to many people and people don't have to go out so far. The other thing I talked about is making sure that youth engagement office, I was the first one to talk about. We got 122 driving facilities throughout this state. And one of the things that's important to me is getting our young people involved and now in the civic process and making sure that they have interns. So we can create 122 youth engagement office using public-private partnership, sort of like we do for One Summer Chicago in the city, where the private sector gives the money, but yet the young adults and the youth are learning about government. They're learning about civic engagement through an internship so that they can get involved, not only for being elected officials. Some of them may not want to be an elected official, but what a lot of people don't know is it's those middle management roles that really make a lot of decisions on contracting, on giving out services, and even in hiring. And so we want to make sure it's equitable across the board. And when you bring it closer to the community, then you can have more equity across the whole state of Illinois, whether you're in Peoria, whether you're in Pekin, or whether you're on the north side or the south suburbs.
Great, great. So here's, as we're running out of time, a question I wanted to ask you. You know, we all who travel a lot went in before last October, a year, it's almost 2 years now, to get our stars on our driver's licenses so that we wouldn't have to carry passports. Starting in October, the extension is going to run out and people are going to have that done. And those lines in the Secretary of State's office to get those renewals with the star on it, bringing all your IDs and everything, and getting that approved is a really long process. How are people going to be able to get through that? If you became Secretary of State, what do you think the way to publicize the need to do this is going to happen? Because it's not going to happen by the time the new Secretary of State comes in. People will have done it, but it's not going to be the majority of people who travel.
Absolutely. So this whole Real ID situation, which is a federal mandate that people have to understand, not a local one. And so the documents that you have to have and all of that is done by the federal but the federal government. So
through the Secretary of State's office.
But through the Secretary of State's office. So through the Secretary of State's office, that's where that administration part come in. So when I talk about doing things like bringing some of the other services to the libraries, satellite service, so we can open up those spaces so that people won't stand in those long lines, so things can be more friendly. When we're talking about, as Secretary of State started doing during COVID, doing things by appointment, making it more efficient, so continue to carry on and build on that. But also one of the things that I talked about is digital license plates as an option. California, Arizona, and Michigan already have digital license plates. They're not mandating everyone to have it, but it's an option. And one of the critical things about those digital license plates, you don't have to come in. Everything can be done digitally for the ones that want to do it, and that'll cut down on a lot of the entanglement in terms of when you come in there getting the Real ID. So there we have some great opportunities here.
Great, great. Well, I want to thank you for being on the show. We didn't even cover half the things we could have talked about. But David Moore, the 17th Ward Alderman of the City of Chicago, running for the position of Secretary of State of Illinois. I wish you much success. I want to thank you for being with us. Remember, you can check out our website, www.tvrabbi.com. You can also see former shows on the web. If you want to send an email to Alderman Moore or to us, you can email us at info@tvrabbi.com. I will forward it to him, and I know he'll get back to you personally. And we hope to see you next time right here on Tape with Rabbi Doug. Shalom, everyone.
And I'm talking about Rabbi Doug. Talking about Rabbi Doug. Talking about Rabbi Doug on your TV show. Well, he's the rabbi for me. Anytime you need. You're gonna get married or you're gonna die. Gonna see Rabbi Doug. Gonna see Rabbi Doug. Gonna see Rabbi Doug. Gonna see Rabbi Doug on the TV tonight.
Hi, this is John Records Landecker, and this has been a Taped with Rabbi Doug production.